Hi, gang. It's Sexy. Here's a game that I want to say that I owned this many, many, many years ago, but I don't think I ever played it. I may have looked at it a time or two. Not sure what happened to it. I probably lost it and all the moving around and stuff. But somebody had a deal a few months ago. They were selling a bunch of these games that were unpunched, and I grabbed like this one. I grabbed Omaha Beachhead and I grabbed Cobra for a really, 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 really good price. So I finally decided to get this thing out and play it because it just, I mean, you look at the map, it's, nothing exciting about it, but kind of a big operational type game. And it's pretty much the breakout after the Normandy landings and the Americans or the Allies trying to rush to Germany, of course, to get the war over with. The game is called France, 1944, the Allied Crusade in Europe, and this is Victory Games from 1986. I have never owned a game from Victory Games that was a bad game. All the ones, I don't know if there is one. If there is, I haven't owned it because all the ones that I've bought have been nothing but enjoyable. And this one stunned me, and it's extremely enjoyable. And I find it to be something different than I've probably ever played before. I mean, yeah, you always come across a unique game, but this one here really struck me as unique. Why do I say that? Well, headquarters units. This is what commands everything that's going on pretty much. Your headquarters unit will tell you how many armor units and how many infantry units you can command. With the Allied forces, depending on what nationality you're from, will determine what nationality of forces you can command, i.e. the U.S. headquarters can command U.S. units and French units, okay? British command headquarters can command British units, Canadian units, Polish units, and some American units, okay? They can command one American unit or one U.S. unit. So, and then French headquarters, they can command French units. Canadian headquarters can command Canadian, British, and Polish units. So you gotta make sure you have your forces near the right headquarters. And with a command range of 4, I believe it is, they got to be within 4 hexes. They can't pass through an unoccupied enemy zone of control, things like that. Supplies pretty simplified. Units that are cut off from headquarters are considered out of supply. So if they're not within that command range of headquarters, it just pretty much means you're not going to use them to function because they're not within the command range of a headquarters when you do an army activation or a headquarters activation. You also have in this game, you have individual activations or reactions, we'll call it. So a player will draw his chit draw. So a player, which you will determine how many chits are in the cup by how much supply you commit, okay? And of course, obviously, the Allied forces, they can commit up to 5, and the Germans can commit up to 3. So the Allies pretty much are always going to have the advantage. And then the initiative player will go on a chit draw like this is an Allied chit, okay? That's Shafe marker. So they'll go, and at the end of their phase, their action cycle, we'll call it, the German player will get a reaction where he can burn up to 3 points in a reaction phase, okay? Each turn you get so many reaction points. The Allies can have the potential to get up to 9. The Germans can get up to 6. You can activate during a reaction. You can do a headquarters activation, which costs 3 points, and then you get to use the amount of forces that the headquarters tells you you can have, like 5 armor or 5 infantry, and you get to conduct your operations just like you were the initiative player. Also, during reaction, if you want to move a headquarters unit, you burn 1 reaction point to move the headquarters. Okay, so you just can't pick a headquarters is just not going to move with the units that are activated when you activate that headquarters. Headquarters can only move on a single single reaction point activation. All right, all that stuff's tracked on. Well, it's better look at these. It's all tracked on the charts right here. Reinforcements. You have a turn record chart for each side, the German side and the Ally side, and then you have your reinforcements, your supply points, your reaction points, the reinforcements, how many replacement points you get. And things like replacements and reinforcements come during administrative phase, which is also a chit. So you might draw that chit right in the middle of all of the initiative chits you have, and then you'll sort of stop play. You'll do replacements, you'll do reinforcements, which will move, and then you go back to your initiative and start drawing initiative chits again. All right. Now, here's the most unique thing I found about this game, and I think it's really, really cool. When you do an initiative and you choose a headquarters unit, all right, you have two options, movement or attack, okay? Combat or movement. And you have these charts right here. And that light I know is going to be in the way, sorry. And you'll pick. Now these white boxes here, all right, these are only movement. So, and in movement you're going to do either regular movement or you're going to do administrative movement. Administrative movement is another one of those terms for increasing your movement point allowance, but you can't go into a zone of control, that kind of stuff. You see that in a lot of games, a lot of strategic move, you know, you hear a lot of different things. The colored boxes are ones where you can attack. And what you'll do is you'll choose, okay, I'm going to do a movement, and I want to be able to move everybody as far as they can. So maybe you drop it in that box right there. And the box will tell you if you have a movement factor, if the unit has a movement factor of 6, okay, he can move up to 6 if it's just normal movement. But if it's administrative, he can move up to 12. And every unit here, so if he has a movement of 4, a movement of 3, or movement 2, using this box, they can all move pretty much maxed out, all right? But maybe you want to move during your phase, and then on the next one you want to attack. So you want to move, and then we get into attack. So maybe you choose this box here. Now you can move everybody that has a movement point, which is usually your armor, of 6. They can move 4. Or they can administrative move of 8. But once you've done all your movement for whatever units are under command, now maybe you've moved them in adjacent to an enemy unit, you get another cycle right here. So another integration. So now say this time you want to attack. Well, if you started in that box, you'll go down to this one here. And this box will tell you only units with a movement factor of 6 can move if you decide to do a move. But it's a blue box, so it says units with a movement point allowance of 6 can attack. So only units with a movement point allowance of 6 are allowed to conduct combat if you're using this trail. And you've got multiple trails to use, so you got to think about what you're going to do. This is one of the more popular ones, okay? Everybody up here can attack. Gray is where movement point allowance of 2, 3, 4, and 6, they can all attack. So this is if you're going to start with an attack right off the bat, which is a lot for the allied forces in these initial turns, that's where you're going to start. So, you know, you may start to attack there. You do your attack. You've got the active headquarters. All right, so he's done his attack. Maybe you want to follow up and attack some more. So you drop it down into this box here. All right, but now under the orange, only units with a movement allowance of 4 or 6 can attack. So your infantry units that have a movement allowance, let's say, of 3, they can't do anything. They're not going to be able to help in the attack. All right. Only the 4s and the 6s can attack. So, which actually I think the infantry's 4 anyhow. So, come to think of it, I don't know who is 2. I'll do some looking on that. Okay, and so forth. So then you're done attacking here. Maybe you want to attack again, and you got some armor units that have movement allowance of 6. So on your third integration, you can attack again now with your units that have movement allowance of 6, the color code blue. Or maybe you can move, or maybe you want to move. You'll flip it to move, and then you can move anybody that has a movement allowance of 6 up to 2 movement points or up to 4 in administrative movement. So you got to pick your little flow chart here. I've never used this one yet. I've used the one way over here with the mass movement. Think I used this one once to get into attack posture. Oh no, this one. I used this one here one time. But this one here gets used the most, especially by the Allies. I'm noticing the Germans now, they're using mostly the mass movement one because they're trying to get their reinforcements on. Now also, when it comes to attacking, you have set piece attack and you have mobile attack. If all the units that are part of an attack have either moved or attacked in the previous integration, it becomes a mobile attack. And let me specify that because that's what the rule says. If all of the units participating in the upcoming attack have moved or executed combat in the previous integration, then you do a mobile attack. Well, what's the difference? Well, so the number to the right there of the unit icon, that's their set piece. So that 4 is a set piece attack number. Those are usually much stronger than mobile. Fortunately for this guy here, this German 11th Armored Panzer, his mobile attack factor is also 4. So he's going to be he'll be just the same on the mobile than he will on a set piece. But your infantry units, you'll notice, this guy here, he's got a set piece attack strength of 6, but his mobile's only 1. So he's not very good in a mobile attack. So you got to think that stuff out too. You may want to have, maybe you move enough forces in on your first integration, and then you go to your, or maybe you attack with half of what you have activated, and then you follow up your second attack with another group, all right, that didn't move. So you can keep the 2 set pieces attack going. But once again, the rule says if all the units participating, not if any. It says if all of them. So I don't know if that's maybe there's some errata. I didn't go looking for the errata. I'm terrible about looking for errata for games. I really should get better at that. But I am 6 turns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm starting the 5th turn, and it's 5 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 turns. And I think I have to get, I got to read the victory conditions again, where there's 21 units or 21 strength points. I have to get them up here and secure bridge hedges across the rivers in Germany. That's the objective of the game. Now, you'll notice I'm in November, and I realized by understanding the play of this game that I'm behind, because it was in September of 44, which they account for that in this game, that Market Garden happened. Nijmegen, Eindhoven, Arnhem. Man, I'm way the hell down here. So, and I mean, 30 Corps probably started up in here somewhere to go to Eindhoven, and then so I'm still way down there. I just barely got to be. So now I realize, I need to start maneuvering. So yeah, so now we're gonna have to start breaking out, or else this is gonna be a loss by the Allied forces. Air power. Only the Allies get it. You roll for a dice at the start of each turn, and on the turn record tracker to tell you what range you have to roll in, and if you do, you put him up here in this box, not yet used. You can do a 2 strength. I think this is their carpet bombing version, or you can do their 1 strength. So it goes 2, 1, 1, and then you have nothing. But right now, for 3 consecutive turns, they've not been able to get any air power. Their attacks are usually better. We've got some Germans pinned in that aren't going to get out because they can't get enough in here to counterattack to open us up. But there's some good strong units in there that the Allies have finally dwindled down. I'm almost safe to say that unless even if the admin phase pops up, there's no headquarters that can reach these guys, so they're not going to get any replacements. So this unit is probably going to be gone after this turn, this stack right here, and he's going to be beat up pretty good, okay? This paratrooper here, his set piece strength was 8. They finally reduced him. Now, that's the other thing too, is when you do combat, units usually have 2 sides, front and back side, reduced, full strength and reduced strength. All right, when they take a step loss on their full strength, you flip them over to the reduced. When they take a step loss on the reduced side, you place one of these cadre markers underneath them, where morale or mobile and set piece all become 1. All right, and then if he loses that 3rd step, he's eliminated. They go over to the eliminated box over there. As you can see, a lot of Germans in there, and they can be brought back in using the replacements. All right, so let me tell you how I started to play this. I didn't even read the rules. I did their walkthrough. A game from 1986 that in the rule book has a phase-by-phase walkthrough of like the first game turn and a half, with all the phases included so that you know what to do. Then you just need to go back to the rules, which are not very, they're not, I mean, the rules are, they're not even, the pages aren't numbered, they're lettered. So, well, I guess they are numbered, but no, they're lettered, so. But there's not. I mean, the rule book's thin, and when the playthrough the walkthrough for the play encompasses a couple of pages of it. So, I mean, everything you need is right on the game chart. A combat. Okay, so you're going to get odds in combat. Then you're going to roll a dice, and you're going to get a combat resolution table number. So let's say you roll a 7 and the odds were 4-1. You're going to get a combat table of 4. So then you go over here, depending on what type of attack it is, set piece is this section, mobile is this section. You're going to get the highest rate of morale of the attacker, and then the highest rate of morale of the defender. So say the attacker's morale, say their table was a 3. Let's say the attacker's morale was a 4, and the defender's morale was a 6. You would find the 4 column, and then you would find the defender's morale was a 6, and your result would be a B. And then you would go to this table here, and you would look for your result. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Very simplified combat system. Headquarters, I think, are the only thing that can provide a bonus, and air power. That's really about it. The terrain, rough terrain. The green stuff is rough terrain behind rivers and stuff like that. Adds. You have some fortified hexes. Like I'm assuming this is probably the Siegfried line, but you have some fortified hexes. But yeah, I haven't shot a video. I'm already into 5 turns, but I'm having fun playing it. So I'm going to keep rocking with this, and we'll probably follow up with a part 2 of this. I'll play this all the way to the end and maybe just give my opinions on how this game. But it's been fun. This is yeah, I'm amazed. You pull out, like I say, I've never had a victory game that I didn't like. They've all been just great. So here's another one to add to that list. France 1944, the Allied Crusade in Europe. Like I say, if you got it, dig it up. It's not hard to set up, and it's not hard to play. They even have a vassal mod for it if you want to do that. Very simple, low counter density, and actually quite fun, and a change of pace from all the other stuff. All right, we'll get back to y'all with a part 2 of this, which will be the final one I'm done playing it. Talk to y'all soon.